It's aren't like marbles, bro.
Yo, Gats. What's good, bro?
What up?
But who was the person who wanted to talk about abortion? Because I think that's a really interesting debate. Who thought that abortion was like not moral or that we shouldn't have it within the United States?
I did.
Okay, why?
I did. Why is it not?
Okay.
You're killing a human, a living thing.
Sure. So the argument that I would take here is that the woman has the right to bodily autonomy, and that is coming in conflict with the fetus's right to life. And so the government never has the justification to force you to someone else use your body without your consent. So like, I'm never forced to give a kidney to someone, even if they're going to die.
And she wasn't forced to open her legs and have sex.
No, but consent to sex isn't consent to pregnancy.
It doesn't matter. You know what you're getting into if you're having unprotected sex.
Sure. So if I own a house, I know it could be burglarized, right?
Right.
Okay, but that doesn't mean I consented to it being burglarized, right?
That's a different thing.
Well,
we're talking about an innocent thing.
Yeah, we are. And so I'm saying that
it's an inconvenience to the mother, so just kill it.
Well, it's not just kill it. She is withdrawing her consent to her body being used, and so therefore that a byproduct that usually, unless it's within the third trimester, is killing it. Otherwise, it's like a late C-section or early C-section. But
Tyrannid.
Yeah.
Say that again.
I don't think that's the heart of the issue. I think the heart of the issue is, when do you consider this fetus to be alive?
No, I disagree with that, because I think if you take it from that perspective, the most logical thing is to say at the point of conception, because it's a potential life. But what I'm saying is that at any point in time, that woman has the right to withdraw consent to her body being used, and the government has no authority to say that that woman is forced to give up her right to bodily autonomy.
Being used by what?
So you're a murderer.
Wow.
It's not being a murderer. It's the same way that I'm a murderer because I'm not giving my blood to someone who needs a blood donation.
You're yelling into the mic, dude.
Are you kidding?
Sorry.
You're killing babies.
You're gonna get some
water.
Shut up.
So would you say that I'm killing somebody if I don't donate my organ to save their life?
That's not. Are you kidding? That's not
the same.
So what's the difference there? In both cases, the person is giving up their body to be used by someone else.
Make your organ.
You don't need what?
You don't need a dick to make your kidney to donate it.
So you're saying that the difference in moral philosophy is that the dick is used in one and not the other?
Actually, yes, that's kind of how it happens.
So explain to me why the act of sex is differentiating those two examples of being forced to give your body to save someone else's life.
Because creating life and saving life is very different.
So is your argument that consent to sex is consent to pregnancy?
Look, buddy, everybody knows the result of sex. It's fucking 5th grade education.
So do people just have sex in order to get pregnant?
Humans are one of the only mammals.
If you don't want to have a baby, you take the measures that you need to take.
Exactly.
In order not to.
Exactly. Just like if I don't want my house burglarized, I put bars on the windows, right?
Look, I'm all pro-choice and everything, but your arguments
so if you're on birth control, you wearing a condom, you're gonna get pregnant?
There is always a chance, yeah.
It is so fucking rare for that to happen. It is so fucking rare.
So it's like, yeah, like maybe like 1%, right? Which is still like 300,000 Americans.
Can I ask you another thing?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about women that have had multiple abortions? Multiple. Do you think that's right? If a woman has had 4 abortions, do you think that's right?
Sure. She has the complete moral right to not consent to being pregnant.
If you're dumb enough for that to happen, and you get 4 abortions, you should get your tube tied. Honestly, you
have no right to tell somebody else what they have to do with their own body.
It's wrong. It's morally wrong. It's morally wrong.
It's not morally wrong. It's the person enacting their own right to decide how their bodies are used, right?
Okay.
And so, like, if they're not consenting to a pregnancy, then they're doing the responsible thing by getting an abortion. Because at the point where you give birth, then you've consented to the pregnancy. Well, so
can I add in something here? And this is just kind of a informational thing, not a tad bit at either of you, but in order to have your tubes tied, you have to be a certain age. Either I've had 2 children already or have a husband's consent to get your tubes tied.
Ooh,
So
fascinating.
there's an issue there. But also, like I was trying to say, but you yelled over me anyway, I'm pro-choice. Your arguments are really terrible. And you're
I appreciate that. But, so... okay.
You stop. I'm not done my point. What I'm going to fucking say is, while you consent to sex, you do not necessarily consent to a child. But I agree with Butterfly is saying. She's basically over here saying you have the option of condoms, you have the option of birth control, you have all these options in front of you to avoid having a child in front of you. And there are women who go and avoid doing any of that and go through the abortion process, which is ridiculous.
But so let's say that somebody takes all these precautions, right? They like use a condom, she has she's on birth control, and yet still that like 0.1% chance or less than 1% chance happens and she gets pregnant. Do you think that she has the right to withdraw consent?
I already said I'm pro-choice.
Well, I guess I'm talking to Butterfly.
Well, I mean, if she wants to be a baby killer, yeah, dude.
But how? And you're not. We wouldn't say that if somebody needed my body in order to live, and me not giving that to them, that I'm killing them. I'm just not allowing them to use my body. It's the same with the woman. She's just not allowing the fetus to use her body.
For real.
You're not killing it. She's not like actively murdering someone. She's just saying you do not have consent to be within my body and cause all these bodily changes.
This is why I told you that is the heart of the issue.
No, but I would recognize that the fetus. It doesn't matter to me if the fetus is a person or not.
Okay, turn it. Butterfly, you were saying.
Okay, I'm saying it is. She is choosing to rip her baby into pieces because it's an inconvenient to her.
Okay, Butterfly.
Well, it might be inconvenient to the baby as well. Like, let's say that let's say that the mother doesn't want the baby, then abortion is not legal, right? Then that mother might blame that baby for whatever direction that mother's life is going.
Okay.
That baby might potentially have a very bad life.
So
look, like, I believe that people that are willing to adopt
people that are in the world
I'm gonna make
loving parents.
Okay. Okay, Raz, wait. Yeah, Butterfly, go.
I've got 2 points. No, I'm gonna go. I've got 2 points to make. One, why do you think a fetus is a baby when science says otherwise? And 2, do you know how destructive the whole adoption industry actually is for a child? If you aren't adopted by the age of 3, you've lost the potluck. So you can say, there's loads of people wanting to adopt a child, but if you're that one child that isn't getting adopted by the age of 3, you're basically fucked. So you're willing to have a child grow up in a disruptive and dysfunctional environment just because you disagree with abortion.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
So would you go up to a person that was in foster care or got adopted? What do you think? Could you go up to them and ask, well, do you wish you would have gotten aborted instead? What do you think your answer would be?
That's a straw man, isn't it? Because you're asking, should we take their life away when they've already lived?
Well, that's what you're doing when you abort a baby.
No, because a fetus isn't a baby.
Yes, it is.
Hey, so just quickly...
That's a definition question.
Baby when brain and heart function starts, which is not for quite.
Butterfly, moving away from the policy, moving away from the moral.
At what age does a child stop being a baby and start being a child?
3.
It's all about definition.
Right, which is why I argued from bodily autonomy first. But really quickly, Butterfly, do you think that legally that we should allow abortion even if morally you disagree with it?
Legally?
Yeah, like
No, I mean, but that's tricky because there are extremely rare cases to where I do agree that sometimes it is needed. Like if a 12-year-old got raped.
But so like not even talking about the extreme cases. You know that areas have stopped abortions. For example, the US government funds a lot of abortions globally, but whenever a Republican comes in office, they stop that global funding. That whenever those places stop abortions, they actually see an increase in the number of illegal abortions happening because it just goes underground and becomes unsafe and dangerous for the woman.
I mean, a great example of that is looking at Ireland and Northern Ireland. One of them's legalized abortions, the other one has very strict abortion laws, and Northern Ireland is one with very strict abortion laws. And they have serious mental health issues with women who have undergone illegal abortions because they've been able to buy drugs off the internet to abort their child or fetus. And they can know...
You can just use a coat hanger, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So, like,
multivariate analysis on the correlation between the presence of mental illness and abortion laws.
Yeah, we can.
I believe that. Okay, let's say that some abortions happen, illegally. I would think that it's nowhere near the number when abortion is legal, right?
No, that was a study that I brought up where they actually looked at areas that lost funding from the U.S. government for abortions and had to stop these abortions. They actually saw an increase, like a net increase in the number of abortions happening.
Yeah, but I believe that the amount of illegal abortions will still be a lot smaller than the amount of abortions happening. So the amount of total abortions will have been decreased.
No. The amount of total abortions increases because if you think about it, the
abortions went up after being made illegal.
No, definitely. I can pull up the source, but the reason is that these people aren't getting like medical counseling, or the reason is that these people aren't getting like medical counseling, right? Like they're able to go to Planned Parenthood or something and find out like the medical implications of getting an abortion and what the other options are. If you make it illegal, then this happens like under the table, and they're not getting this counseling in the first place.
When do you think people buy the most weed? When it's illegal or legal?
Actually, this is interesting. In Portugal, they legalized all drugs and saw a decrease in the number of overdoses occurring. Or they legalized a lot of drugs, or decriminalized a lot of drugs, right?
Decriminalized.
But the amount of overdoses happening isn't the same as how much drugs are actually being bought, okay?
Okay, well, I can just bring up the study that I'm talking about.
That just means people are better informed. And if abortions are legal, people are better informed. But they become, more prevalent in society.
Become more woke.
Okay, so let's see. It's the study that I'm talking about. If it's called "Abortion Incidence and Availability in the United States Since 2011" by Rachel K. Jones and Jenna German, published in 2014, found that whenever there was a state level abortion restriction, that the states with more abortion restrictions actually ended up having a correlation in higher abortion rates, abortion rates increasing afterward.
Abortion rates increasing after
more restrictions were put in place.
Illegal.
And then I can find that's just one like within the United States, and then I can find the one that's like globally.
I believe in an increase in illegal abortion, but no fucking way there's more abortions when abortion is illegal than when it's fucking legal. I don't believe that for one fucking second.
So here.
This study is being grossly misrepresented because abortion is not illegal anywhere in the United States, and this guy's trying to say that it's based on like the before case is legal abortion and after case is illegal abortion, but there's nowhere in the United States where it's illegal.
No, but it was saying like restrictions increased, and when restrictions increase, on that
basis, it's complete misrepresentation of the
study. No, it's saying restrictions. So the first thing I was talking about was the global one, and I'm trying to find that right now. But this one was within the U.S. It said when restrictions increased, the net total number of abortions was more because so many more illegal abortions were occurring, or at the very least you can call it a wash within that study, where the number of abortions definitely didn't decrease.
That I can't believe. I still don't believe that the number of illegal abortions increased, but I definitely can believe that the amount of abortions increased. Like that's the same thing you see with guns. Whenever they put restrictions on It's like people buy, a fuck ton of them.
Well, yeah, but so they put restrictions on guns, and you do see correlated decrease in firearm deaths.
Well, but people buy more guns, actually, then.
Yeah, but, well, I don't know if people are buying more guns, but whenever they have more restrictions, studies show that you end up having decreases in the number of firearm deaths, and the lower gun ownership is also correlated with decreased firearm deaths.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But,
okay. But what the thing I was talking about originally is the global gag rule. So in 1984, whenever a new Republican has come into office, they implement that where they don't fund abortions. And then when you compare countries that stop providing legal safe abortions to countries that don't, you find something strange. Their abortion rates increase. So yeah, that was the study that I was citing that said the actual abortion rates in those countries increased after they put on an abortion ban.
Can you repeat that more slowly?
Yeah, so it's from the World Health Organization. And what they said was when there is a global gag rule, essentially, whenever a Republican president comes into office. So Trump did this, I think Bush also did this. And it's where they stop funding abortion globally whenever they come into office. And so the World Health Organization analyzed those countries that lost access to legal, safe abortions. And they found that abortion rates within those countries increased overall.
Crazy.
Right? So I guess we should have it legal and safe.
No, yeah. I want my coat hanger. You can't stop me.
I mean, I don't think anyone can stop you whether it's legal or illegal.
This is like a gross misrepresentation again, because Republicans they do things like they cut off birth control funding too, So
no, but I'm talking about globally, not in the United States.
Yeah, but they cut off birth control funding for these foreign countries as well, right? So there are many things that are going on.
He's talking about a global trend, not specifically to the USA. He's literally talking about a global trend.
The study he's referencing is looking at the fallout from when Republicans come into the White House and cut off global funding for things like abortion and birth control. But it's just focusing on abortion when there's a lot of things going on. Like, they'll cut off funding for birth control too, so you get more pregnancies, and that can result in more abortions.
Well, you'd have to show that they were also cutting off the access to the birth control, because what the global gag rule specifically has to do with is U.S. funding of abortion globally. It doesn't have to do with contraception in general. So you would have to bring up a separate study that showed that, because that's not in the World Health Organization, one that I'm referencing.
None of this is really a good argument either, because people who are opposed to abortion see it as murder.
Right, which is that's when I took that initially. That's why I said that you have the right to take away consent for someone else using your body at any point in the pregnancy, because you have a right to how your body is used, a right to bodily autonomy. And that's so like that's why I think that's good, because then you draw the distinction at birth, right? Because when you give birth, then you've consented.
I don't think you believe in bodily autonomy in all cases, do you?
Yeah. Well, give me a case where I wouldn't.
For example, when it comes to narcotics, like for example, shoving cocaine up your ass, No,
I'm totally for legalizing all drugs. Not only do I think they're terrible as far as like incarceration rates, causing people to just turn to crime and illicit activity, funding cartels, but also I do think people have the right to bodily autonomy to use it how they want. So I'm totally against the war on drugs and having drugs illegal.
Okay, so you're in favor of bodily autonomy in every fucking sense of, that sentence.
I mean, I'm not going to say every sense. If you could think of an example I wouldn't be, then I'd entertain that. But I'm saying, like, for all the ones proposed currently, yes, because that's like an inherent human right. And the way human rights work is that you have all of them until they start conflicting with someone else's rights, and that's when we restrict them. Which is like abortion, where the right to life for the fetus is coming into contact with the right to bodily autonomy for the woman. And so when she exercises her own right, the fetus's right doesn't supersede that.
What about chopping off your leg and eating it?
Yeah, no, I'd be fine with people. Like, people can do that. You can't stop people from doing that.
there's a hierarchy.
I'm just seeing like where you know, if you have any fucking limits at all, you know.
No, yeah, I don't. I think people have the right to do that. I don't think the government should mess with that. I think we should obviously discourage that, right? And I think like if someone was doing that, they should definitely be referred to like the proper medical authorities. But I think you have the right.
No one believes.
No, and cannibalism is wrong because you're infringing on someone else's right.
No one believes you have all these human rights to stop someone else's rights.
Not necessarily. What if I chop off my leg and I sell it to someone so they can eat it, right?
It's cannibalism then.
I mean, if you honestly wanted to do that, then I would say that you have the right to do that, and we should just discourage it socially. But like, you have the right.
That's still cannibalism.
Yeah. So. Yeah, you know.
Well, what's wrong with that? Why would you say that's wrong? Why would you say cutting off your?
Say cannibalism is wrong?
Why would you say me cutting off my leg and letting someone eat it is wrong?
Because you're gonna have to pay the medical bills, and in America we don't have.
But you sell.
Well, so I'm taking on that burden, right?
Sell it to them. You sell it like I'm sure like if it was legal selling your leg like for the fucking meat. You know, I'm sure that you would find some buying, paying upwards of $100,000 for it.
For some idiot chopping off his own leg to sell it on the black market for someone else to eat when they can get chicken right down the road.
Sadly, in America, we don't have universal health care, so.
Well, that's the way you guys are trying to push it. So.
Do you think we should have universal health care?
Absolutely not. If you're going to chop off your own leg to sell it so somebody can eat it.
Well, at that point, I mean, first of all, I don't think that's going to be any substantial burden to the healthcare industry because I don't think a lot of people are going to do that. But
imagine all the fucking issues that would come from you soldering off your own goddamn leg.
So, do you realize your free speech right is overridden by public safety? Like, you can't shout fire in a crowded theater.
Yeah, because that's where two rights are coming in conflict, right? Your right to freedom of speech is coming in conflict with other people's like right to security, I guess, or like right. I guess ultimately right to life, because if your security is threatened, then your right to life is threatened.
There's a hierarchy of rights. Like
it's not a hierarchy. It's a conflict. It's a conflict of rights.
No, it's a hierarchy.
How is it a hierarchy?
Because we rule in favor of one
human right
over another. Like
you are free to say it, but you will have consequences.
In the case of shouting fire in a crowded theater, we deem the right to safety, life, whatever, to be more important than the right to free speech. That is a hierarchy of rights.
So you would rather cause mass panic and have that be protected then?
Well, the point is that the right to life of the fetus overrides the right to bodily autonomy of a woman.
No, because in no other instance is this what we would think, right? So like that's why I brought up the example of me giving my kidney. So if I have the only kidney that can save some individual, no government authority can tell me that I have to give it to that person, because it's ultimately my decision with how my body is used, because I have bodily autonomy over that. Same with the woman. So like the only reason that this is like an issue is because I guess like half the population doesn't end up dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. But I'm sure if men could give birth, you could like get abortions at the corner store.
Turian 441, do you know the bike-cock meme?
No, not specifically.
Oh, okay, well, I will send you the original meme, and then I will send you a meme that is, relevant to this topic.
Okay, go for it.
I remember what happened with
this is the original meme, so just watch that first. Are you reading it?
Yeah.
Tiernan, do you realize that 87% of the population is opposed to third trimester abortion? They want to out.
Well,
I'm sorry, say that again.
Child fucking exists.
87% of people want third trimester abortion to be illegal.
Third trimester is when the child exists. Third trimester abortion is like when there's complications with the woman.
Like you can argue that the child exists at any fucking point, though.
Give me 1 second. So when we're talking about that one, where you're saying that people aren't in favor of third trimester abortions, there's a point where it becomes a C-section, right? Where it's no longer killing the fetus past the point of viability. So like when people say that in the polling data, they're probably assuming that you're like murdering the fetus in the third trimester past the point of viability. But there's like a point where it's actually just a C-section and you're able to like give birth early to that child.
My favorite
24-week-old fetuses are not viable.
Was someone saying, New York just passed this law that lets women get abortions up to the day after the baby's born.
No, I think that's a complete mischaracterization of the New York law. The New York law has to do
I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, no, it is, but like all the New York law basically just says that like up to the point of pregnancy, it's determined by the mother and the doctor. So like they have that discussion. So like if it's threatening the mother's life, then the doctor can allow her to get the abortion as late as is necessary. But yeah, I don't think anybody would be for post-birth abortions.
You don't know my life.
The governor of Virginia was on video supporting post-birth abortion.
There's a lot of this is going to stem from Italy, where this woman carried a baby. She's not the only woman, but it's very recent. A woman carried a child who died inside of her, and Italy wouldn't allow her to perform an abortion because abortions are illegal. So she ended up dying with the child.
Yeah, like these laws are all extremely barbaric from a moral and like practical point of view. They're just bad for society.
I'm gonna send the memes in the voice chat as well.
Oh yeah, so I saw those memes. So I think the reason that they're wrong is that they're assuming that the reason that we're saying that abortion is moral is like ultimately utilitarian. And I'm not saying that from a moral perspective. I'm saying it's ultimately right because you're maintaining the woman's right to bodily autonomy that in any other instance with medical care she would have. Like no one's going to force her to give blood, even if the utilitarian argument would be I could save more people. If my body was harvested for all my organs, I could save a shit ton of people who need organ donations. But nobody is going to force me to do that, even though ultimately we're going to save more lives because my right to bodily autonomy is more important. It's the exact same within this instance.
Do you believe in compulsory child support?
Do you believe the right to feel safe is a right?
I think ultimately it's right to life, or like maybe I guess right to like pursuit of happiness, I guess is what you're talking about, which I don't even know if that's like a technical right, but yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I would say that you have a right to feel safe. And then also when you were saying what was the thing you asked before that someone else asked something?
I asked if you believe in compulsory child support.
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little tricky. So I think the line is drawn at the point of birth because that's when the woman has consented to have this child. And so at that point, you have certain social contracts come into play where people are now socially obligated to like take care of that child to have like a functioning society in general. So I think compulsory child support, yes, is moral because like that's necessary in order for society in general to function. But I think that there should be like opt-out options where like the woman can give it up for adoption or something.
In that case, you believe that a man surrenders bodily autonomy by having sex if you believe in compulsory child support.
It's not bodily autonomy. So it would be bodily autonomy if I was saying that the man should be forced.
Absolutely
No, well, let me finish. So I think it would be bodily autonomy if the man was forced to give up like his liver or something to save the kid. If his body was being used to help save that kid. But at the point where it's his labor being used and it's his actual work that's being used, then it's different because that has to do with like social interactions and how we're structuring society. That's no longer an issue of like my body is being used directly or like somebody is like I'm being forced to give up something in my body to help someone else.
You have to use your body in order to earn the wages that you're compelled to produce in the form of child support.
Yeah, just like you're forced to pay taxes, right? But so that's like this has
to
do with societal structures.
You're not forced to pay taxes.
Oh, you are. You should tell that to the IRS. They would disagree with you.
You do not have to
you
work.
just need a good enough lawyer and you can fucking sneak it away, or you have some fucking,
you can sneak it away, but like at the point where we're existing within society,
you're not required to work. It's completely different.
No, I mean, if you're not working, you're not going to pay child support, but you're still responsible for like functioning within society. That's how we like build up social structures. That's why the government has an army and a police force.
You go to jail if you don't pay child support, regardless of whether you have a job or can find a job or whatnot, right? It is.
No, I don't think that's how child support works. I'm pretty sure child support is usually a percentage of your income.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Like,
you are wrong. You're 100% wrong. That's how it works.
No, but you know, like American tax code in like the early 1900s, it was it was 11,000 pages. The two first pages was the fucking tax code, and then all the other pages, they were exemptions to that tax code.
Yeah, but so this is just getting like off a little bit because like that's
no,
how
it's not.
The idea of tax exemptions, because I'm saying that like at the point where
that people surrender bodily autonomy by having sex.
I'm saying people surrender certain rights in order to exist in society. So like you surrender a certain degree of you do surrender a certain degree of bodily autonomy in order for society to function, just like I surrender a certain degree of freedom of speech, like you mentioned earlier, in order for society to function. But that's like a completely different level than just talking about giving your body. No, because abortion, you're forcing someone to give up their bodily autonomy to save someone else. And in no other instance in society do we allow that to happen.
I just gave you an instance, child support.
Well, child support has to do with where you're giving up a certain degree of bodily autonomy in order for, like, the person who you have given birth to be able to survive, right? For, like, the social structures to work. That's different than like being if the father was forced to give up his kidney, right? Because he's not. The father's not forced to directly give up his body.
Working is risky. In fact, these days, working.
But you don't have to work. You already said that.
Yes, or you go to jail.
You don't go to jail if you don't work and you can't pay child support. I can look that up right now.
Yes,
but you definitely,
if
you are unemployed, you do not go to jail for not paying child support.
Yes, you did.
1 second, I will look this up.
You don't leave it out in the woods. But like, I want to go, get back to the right of safety, as you guys want to call it, because I maintain the belief that safety is not a right, because an individual's notion of safety might very well conflict with another individual's notion of safety. You have conservatives that feel very, threatened by the gay agenda, and then the gays feel threatened by the conservative agenda, and you have safety. So I would say that someone really should have the right to yell out fire in a, theater, because I don't believe safety to be a right.
I'll get to that one in 1 second, but just quickly with child support, I just looked it up. So it says that if you're unemployed, then what you have to do is just talk to the unemployment office, and they're going to deduct the child support from your unemployment benefits. So no, you do not have to work if you are unemployed. Like this is why I'm saying it's completely different, because this has to do with like social structures and societal structures that are taking into account your right to bodily autonomy. But as far as the free speech thing goes, I don't think we could function as a society if I was allowed to like openly threaten other people's safety. So I do think that that's a fine restriction on freedom of speech.